It started like any other quiet Saturday morning in our mountain cabin, sunlight filtering through the tall pines, birdsong echoing over the valley. My wife, Anna, was prepping coffee while I double-checked the motion sensors and cameras we'd installed around the perimeter. We weren't paranoid, just cautious. Ever since we bought this remote property, 3 acres with an old but charming log cabin, we knew we'd draw some attention. Especially from her. Her name was Janice, but everyone knew her as the HOA Queen. A nosy, self-important, middle-aged woman who had somehow taken it upon herself to enforce rules, even in a neighborhood where the HOA had been dissolved 5 years before we moved in. That didn't stop Janice from handing out printed violations to neighbors for things like unauthorized shrub height or unsanctioned paint tones. She lived a few cabins down the hill and had tried more than once to snoop around our property under the excuse of a routine cabin inspection. We ignored her. The cabin was ours. We paid cash. There was no legal HOA to answer to. But that Saturday, Janice wasn't taking no for an answer. We heard the crunch of gravel before we saw her car, a rusted blue Subaru with a crooked HOA enforcement magnet stuck to the door. I saw her stepping out, clipboard in hand, sunglasses reflecting the morning sun like some kind of cartoon villain. "Good morning," she called out, smiling stiffly. "Just here to do a walkthrough." Standard procedure. Anna stepped between Janice and the porch steps, calm but firm. "There is no active HOA here, Janice. You're not coming onto our property." Janice's smile wavered. "I'm afraid you don't understand. This is part of the community oversight." "No, you don't understand," Anna cut in. "You've been told more than once, you are not allowed on our land." That's when Janice's face hardened. She reached into her jacket and flashed what looked like a laminated ID. "I have authority." Anna snorted. "From where?" "Your printer." Janice's eyes flicked behind Anna, like she was calculating whether she could make a run for it. Anna stepped forward and blocked the gravel path with her body. "Back in your car, Janice." Janice's eyes narrowed. Then she spotted the mounted camera by our porch. She froze. I stood behind the window, watching, when something unbelievable happened. A sheriff's car pulled in behind Janice's Subaru. Tires grinding to a stop. She turned around, startled. The deputy stepped out, one hand on his belt. He looked directly at Janice. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to speak with you. You've got a warrant out of Jefferson County." Anna's mouth dropped open. Janice paled. "What? A warrant? There must be a mistake," she stammered, glancing from the deputy to Anna, then to me as I stepped out onto the porch. The deputy didn't flinch. "You are Janice R. Hightower, correct? DOB June 3, 1965. Janice's lips trembled. "Yes, but what is this about?" "I'll explain in a moment. Please place your hands where I can see them." That got her full attention. She recoiled like he'd asked her to commit a crime right there in the yard. "You can't just, this is outrageous. I'm a respected community figure. I'm with the HOA. Anna crossed her arms. "There is no HOA. The deputy remained composed. "Ma'am, I'm not here about an HOA. Jefferson County issued a bench warrant for failure to appear in court, fraud charges related to falsifying official documentation and trespassing." Janice's face turned ghostly pale. "Fraud." I raised an eyebrow. Everything suddenly made sense. The printed violation letters she'd been stuffing in mailboxes, the fake ID badge, the clipboard full of supposed property assessments. She'd always looked ridiculous, but now it was clear. She'd crossed a legal line long ago. Anna let out a slow whistle. "Looks like that authority badge wasn't just printed, it was criminal." Janice spun toward her. "You set me up." Anna blinked, stunned. "Are you serious? You drove onto our land again, after being warned, after threatening us. All we did was say no. Janice was visibly shaking. I need to make a call. My husband's a lawyer. You'll all be sorry. The deputy wasn't having it. You'll have the opportunity to make a phone call at the station. He stepped forward and gently but firmly took her arm. Ma'am, please don't resist. For a split second, I thought she might bolt. She looked at the woods, the road behind her, even her own car, like it might magically drive her away from all this. But there was nowhere to go. She lowered her head and allowed the deputy to guide her toward the cruiser. This is harassment, she muttered under her breath. No, the deputy replied flatly. It's the law catching up to you. Anna and I stood in silence as he read her the Miranda rights. Her voice echoed in the trees long after the cruiser disappeared down the road. I looked at Anna. Well, that escalated. She smirked. Told you the cameras would pay off. But neither of us realized this was just the beginning. The silence after Janice's arrest hung in the air like a fog. For the first time in weeks, there was no surveillance car creeping by. No phony citations taped to our door. Just pine needles rustling and a squirrel chattering like he had something to say about what went down. Anna leaned against the porch railing, staring at the gravel road where the sheriff's cruiser had disappeared. You think that's it? You think she's done? I shrugged. I hope so. But I doubt it. Something about her reaction, how quickly she accused us of setting her up, left a weird feeling in my gut. That kind of paranoia doesn't come from a one-off mistake. It comes from knowing you've been skating on thin ice for a long time. Later that afternoon, I took a stroll down the hill. Not to snoop, just to verify. Her cabin sat on a sloped lot, hidden behind a mess of hedges she claimed were native preservation foliage. I wasn't planning to break in or do anything illegal. But when I saw her back shed door wide open, flapping in the breeze, I couldn't ignore it. I stood at the edge of her property and called the sheriff's office. Told them the place was unsecured and, given the arrest, maybe someone ought to check it out. They said a deputy would come by, but with a backlog of calls, it might take a while. So I waited. That's when I heard the loud clack of a cabinet slamming inside the shed. I froze. Someone was in there. But Janice was supposed to be in custody. I stepped closer and quietly called out. Hello. Silence. Then I saw him. A man, early 50s, balding, wearing a stained windbreaker, came out from the shadows holding a box of papers. He jumped when he saw me and nearly dropped them. You. You're from down the hill? He asked, trying to act casual. Yeah, I replied, eyeing the papers. Who are you? He hesitated too long. I'm her cousin. Just collecting her things. Sheriff told me I could. Funny, I said. They told me no one was cleared to enter yet. The man's jaw twitched. You calling me a liar? No, I said slowly, backing up. I'm calling the sheriff's office again. That spooked him. He shoved the box back into the shed, bolted for a rusted pickup behind the house, and tore down the road before I could even read the plate. When the deputy arrived 20 minutes later, I told him everything. He went into the shed, took one look at the box, and whistled. Sir, he said, you might have just walked into something much bigger than HOA drama. I raised an eyebrow. Like what? He pulled out a folder marked Community Financial Oversight Board. This woman's been forging tax assessments. The deputy flipped through the folder, a deep scowl settling into his brow. This isn't just some Karen drama, sir. This looks like financial fraud on a county level. I leaned in. How would Janice even get access to those documents? He held up a stamped sheet with a badly copied logo. She made these. None of this is real. There's no such board. These look like fake assessments she's been mailing to people, charging illegal HOA fines and threatening liens if they didn't pay up. I blinked. You're telling me she's been scamming the neighborhood? Looks that way, he muttered, slipping the folder into an evidence bag. We've had reports from surrounding counties, a woman matching her description pulling similar stunts. She acts like she's reviving dead HOAs, then bullies folks into giving her money. And the guy I saw could be a co-conspirator. We'll run the plate when we get traffic cam footage. For now, stay alert. That night, Anna and I sat by the fireplace, replaying everything in our heads. The fake ID. The clipboard. The made-up violations. Janice had been parading around like a dictator of a forgotten kingdom, and people had believed her. You know, Anna said, swirling her tea, if she hadn't tried to come up here again, she probably would have gotten away with it. I nodded. Yeah. And if you hadn't blocked her path, she might have gotten inside. Who knows what she'd have planted or claimed. We didn't sleep well that night. Even with Janice behind bars, for now, there was an eerie sense that her grip reached further than we realized. And we were right. Over the next week, 4 other neighbors came forward. All of them had received mandatory maintenance invoices from Janice's so-called board. 2 had paid. 1 forked over $900 just to avoid property suspension, she threatened. Each had been too embarrassed to speak up, until they heard about the arrest. Turns out Janice had collected thousands over the past year using this scam. And it wasn't just our mountain stretch, she'd pulled this in 2 other rural communities before ours, always targeting isolated places where legal oversight was weak. A few days later, the county prosecutor filed a multi-jurisdictional complaint. Fraud. Impersonation of a public official. Criminal trespassing. And that was just the beginning. Anna stood on the porch that evening, watching the sun dip behind the pines. Funny, she said. She thought we were the problem. I wrapped my arm around her. Guess she never expected her own fake world to come crashing down from a simple blocked path. And just like that, the mountain was quiet again. 1 blocked driveway. 1 real arrest warrant. If you think Karen got what she deserved, smash that like button, drop a "justice served" in the comments, and subscribe for more stories where karma hits back hard. You don't want to miss the next twist.